Certain games and franchises are constantly talked about, and most of the time they get supposed leaks about the new upcoming game in the franchise, and Resident Evil is a perfect example of this. For years I've heard supposed leaks and rumors and pure speculation about the upcoming Resident Evil 9 title, and recently the rumor mill has started acting up again. But because Resident Evil is a franchise I absolutely adore, I wanted to do a video talking about these rumors and just give my overall thoughts on them. However, before we get into it, I just want to be upfront and make it very clear. These are just rumors and pure speculation. They're not actual leaks. They're not official announcements, so take everything with a grain of salt. I think we need to get better at using the proper terminology when we talk about stuff like this, because the word rumor and the word leak mean very different things. A leak has some credibility to it. A rumor is basically people making up stuff hoping it's true. Also, I do want to say there might be some mild spoilers in this video because we are talking about a possible Resident Evil 9, so there might be some spoilers for the previous games in the series. So there's your spoiler warning. Both all that out of the way, without further ado, let's get into this. So RE9 is rumored to be called Resident Evil Apocalypse, with the Roman numeral 9 in the title. So pretty much a play on words with the number 9 in it. Sort of how Resident Evil Village was, where they put the 8 in the word village. This most likely is just a working title, if it's even a working title at all. However, I do want to say, while the game may not be called Apocalypse, I could definitely see Capcom continuing in the trend of working in the number in the title of the game, which I think actually does look pretty cool. The main protagonist is said to be Chris Redfield, and I do want to see, I have seen some backlash online towards this, as it does seem like the fans would definitely like to see another character take the lead in the new Resident Evil game. And another criticism I've seen is a lot of people are worried that the game will definitely be more action focused, because in RE8, Chris is basically a one-man army. So I kind of wanted to address this and give my thoughts on Chris being the main protagonist. So for starters, I actually have zero problem with Chris being the main character in Resident Evil 9. That being said, I honestly would be happy with any of the main characters taking the lead. However, I do miss the days of being able to select which character you can play as. In Resident Evil 1, and especially in Resident Evil 2, they had this. In fact, I would like it if they kind of brought back the A and B scenarios that RE2 had in their future games. I doubt they will do that, but I thought that was such a great mechanic, and I'm not sure why it was only in the second game. As for the concern that having Chris as the main character would make the game too action focused, well, realistically, Resident Evil Village was already way more action packed than RE7. In fact, Capcom even came out and said they purposely did that because Resident Evil 7 was said to be too scary, and they wanted to make Resident Evil a franchise that more players could experience and enjoy. So no matter who is the main protagonist, I think it's going to have a more action focus, kind of similar to how RE Village was. As for being concerned about Chris's power level, I guess would be the way to phrase it, is Resident Evil. The character's personalities and skill levels change between every single game. So if the game's written well, no matter who the main character is, whether it's Chris, Jill, or Leon, all three of them are pretty badass. If they just come across the proper threat levels, the game could still have a little bit of that horror survival atmosphere and be done well. It just depends on the setting and the writing. I'm not too concerned about that. They've done a great job with RE7 and RE Village, so hopefully they continue that with Resident Evil 9. But if you're worried about Chris being the only character, well, luckily, if these rumors are true, he will not be the only returning character for the upcoming game. As it said, Jill is to be in the game as well, as kind of a support character, kind of working behind the scenes. And Claire Redfield is said to be making an appearance. Now, I kind of really have zero complaints about this, besides the fact that I'd want them in the game more. And like I said before, it'd be cooler if Chris was a playable character, but you could also select to be Jill, kind of a throwback to RE1. After all, I truly do miss the days where you could pick which character you were going to play through the story as. However, I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that. So what's most likely going to happen, if these are true, like I said, they're probably not, is because Jill's in the game working kind of in the background as a support character, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a DLC campaign where we play as Jill and see her side of the story and what's happening on behind the scenes. But let's move on from the protagonist and the support cast and talk about the rumored creatures that are supposed to be making an appearance in Resident Evil Apocalypse. So it's rumored that zombies will actually be making a return. However, we won't just be facing the undead this time around. We're also expected to be encountering mythological creatures, which wouldn't surprise me as we've already fought them in RE Village. So unless we're fighting different mythological creatures in Resident Evil Apocalypse, we'll just be fighting werewolves and vampires again. Maybe this time we could fight unicorns and minotaurs or something. I really have no idea. The story is supposed to pick up right where RE8 left off, with Chris Redfield as he leaves for Europe to go to the BSAA. The game said to be single player with no co-op in it. There's also been talk about the game ending with a beloved character dying. However, we know it's not going to be Chris because he's still alive in the Rose DLC, which does take place 16 years after the event of RE Village. So unless there's a time jump in Apocalypse, I can't imagine how they would kill off Chris, but he's still around 16 years later. Like, that just wouldn't make sense to me. Overall, I pretty much think these rumors are like 90% false. The only parts I believe is that Resident Evil 9 is definitely in development and that Capcom will definitely reuse assets because they always do that. I don't think there's any truth to any of this. However, maybe I'm wrong and maybe this video ages poorly and I look like an idiot. I do want to say, even if that is the case, I still won't look as dumb as the guy that made Resident Evil Apocalypse, the live action movie. So at least I'll have that going for me. But I want to hear what you all think. Do you guys think these rumors have any sort of truth to them? What do you guys want to see in Resident Evil 9? Let me know in the comments down below. As for me, I got a ton of work to do, so I'm going to get back to the grind. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.